Welcome to the second video on functions, where we are going to talk about these arguments in a little bit more detail. So let's have a look at this example where we have two arguments, a and b. So we are returning a equation here, the result of an equation here, and what you can see is that you can't change the order of a and b. So the position matters, and this is why they are called positional arguments. So the order matters. If you are writing then in a function call poly 1.1 and then 2.2 is this result, and if you are writing something like this 2.2 1.1, you get a different result. So let's use the same function call, but we are using now so-called keyword arguments. So we can actually define which variable of that function we want to give a value to. For example, we have 1.1, 2.2, and now if we are writing the same order, but we are writing b equals 1.1, that was obviously the second argument, we are getting a different result, even though the order was the same as in the function call that you see above. So we can actually specify which variables of a function we want to give a value to. This would be the same thing, but just a different order and giving you the same result, right? Because now the order is not mattering anymore, it's just a keyword. We can even have a positional argument mixed together with a keyword argument, as it is the case here, right? So note that keyword arguments, they can never be in front of positional arguments. So you have to have your positional arguments first and then your keyword arguments. So this will run into an error. So this is also running into an error, even though the keyword argument was really the first variable in that function definition. This is not acceptable by Python. So positional arguments first, and then you can come up with the keyword arguments. So let's have a look at the function again, where you can now see that a equals 1.1 is in the function definitions. And this is a so-called default value. So if the user is not specifying the value a here, that would be by default 1.1. But this is also not possible, because if you write something like this, this has to be done after the positional arguments. Again, this is leading to an error. So let's have a look at this function again, where we are specifying default values, and this is here acceptable because we only have default values and there's no positional only arguments here. So let's see what happens if we are just calling this function. Then the default values will be used, and this is not leading to an error. If you don't have default values in your function definitions, this would be an error, but in this case, this is acceptable. But you can still assign values. And again, in this case, we have a positional argument, that would be the a, and then there is a keyword argument. So you can also use different values, of course, and then leading to this result. So let's open the Jupyter Notebook and let's look on some examples. So let's have a function here with two, or let's just use three arguments here, and we are going to return just the sum of these three values. And when these are numbers, this makes sense. Even strings would be possible. So this is something what we can just try out. If we have strings, they would be just concatenated. This is also possible. You can add strings to each other, but you can also, of course, use numbers here. So this will be the result 1 plus 2 plus 3. So let's use in the last one a keyword argument, and this works the same way, right? So if I'm going to use now something like this, this will lead to an error because we have to have positional arguments first, then the keyword arguments. I can, of course, start here with a b, with the c as a keyword argument, and then the b, and this is then again leading here to the 6. So this is possible. Let's go with some default values. This is still possible. We are overwriting them simply, but you can even leave this out, and then you would have just 1 minus 9 plus 1. If you come up with a default value here before a value that only accepts positional arguments, Python don't know what to do, and this is an error. So in the next video, and this is actually the last video on Python content, we are going to have a look on modules. And modules is like our files that are exchanged by the very vibrant and very large Python community to provide you with many of these functions, so you can start rapid prototyping with the help of others. So stay tuned for the next video that will be about modules.